Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a first look at the brand new Community Day Rillaboom in the Retro Cup. Now these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Smudgy B, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now for its calm day, Rillaboom gets not one but two charge attacks, Frenzy Plant, and its new signature move, Drum Beating. Drum Beating does 60 damage for 35 energy with a guaranteed lowering of your opponent's attack. So its charge moves are pretty solid, but unfortunately, its fast moves are pretty bad as its best option is Razor Leaf. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Rillaboom. Hopping into the first match, picking up a pretty nice lead, Lapras into Talonflame. Lapras is going to have a pacing advantage in this matchup. Opponent is going to be safe switching into Charjabug, and unfortunately, Charjabug is a bit of a weakness for this team. Sparkling Aria is going to land, Lapras able to bank some energy and defer that Volt Switch onto the Furret. Furret more than happy to absorb X Scissors, but Charjabug goes for a discharge. This Charjabug could potentially be on Crunch. There is a bit of an uptick of ghost types in this meta, so Crunch could potentially look to catch Pokemon like Corsola unaware. Either way, two discharges, not a problem for Furret. Furret able to get the knockout with the Swift. Talonflame just cannot get the farm down, and Furret will make the last second Swift. This will do some pretty valuable damage onto the Talonflame. Unfortunately, Lapras has to respect a potential Brave Bird here, because you cannot let Talonflame get aligned to Rillaboom. In the back is Shadow for Alligator, and in comes Rillaboom. Unfortunately, Rillaboom is probably about to get destroyed by an Ice Beam here. Rillaboom no shields, for Alligator baits, and Rillaboom stays on the field. Now, for the very first time in Pokemon Go, let's take a look at Drum Beating. Drum Beating will be double resisted here. Drum Beating, oh, you gotta love that animation. The Vine Whips come up, slapping the Talonflame, and now Lapras has a call to make. Is this the Brave Bird? The no shield, it's just gonna be the Fly, and Lapras should be able to take this win. The -1 Fly not doing a ton of damage. Lapras farms up just shy of the back-to-back Sparkling Arias, and this game should be a win. Talonflame is going to shield the first, hoping Lapras can't get there, but it can. Good energy management on Lapras, takes down Talonflame to secure the Game 1 win. Hopping into game number 2, leading Lapras into Shadow Gyarados, the battle of the water types. Shadow Gyarados is an incredibly oppressive pick in this meta. Gyarados already had enough energy for a Crunch, and Shadow Crunch will deal some pretty devastating damage. Lapras unfortunately gets debuffed. The luck is with the opponent. That's only a 20% chance at a defense drop, and they call a Sparkling Aria bait as well. In comes Furret. Furret just looking to absorb energy and preserve that HP on the Lapras. Furret now going to be answered with an opposing Furret. Unfortunately, no Brick Break on this Furret, but Swift will still do some pretty sizable chip damage. Unfortunately, this game is really going to come down to, does the opponent have a resistance to grass in the back? Because Rillaboom, it's stuck with mono grass moves. Drum Beating, Frenzy Plant, and Razor Leaf means if they have a Flyer in the back or something like that, Rillaboom's going to be in for a pretty tough time. Back in comes the Lapras. Lapras able to make it to the Sparkling Aria. Furret is going to put up the shield. Does Furret try for the farm down? No, Lapras is just simply too bulky. It's all up to Rillaboom. They go for the Trailblaze, ramping up their damage. In comes Rillaboom. Rillaboom can't get the Razor Leaf down. Furret 1 HP, barely able to hang on and make it to the boosted Swift. Shield comes up from Rillaboom. Opponent reveals their final Pokemon in the back is Oranguru. And this is going to be a tricky game. Oranguru will probably be able to just take home this win. Drum Beating will be shielded. Drum Beating, of course, does come with that guaranteed attack drop. Rillaboom puts up the shield as Oranguru goes for the Brutal Swing. Oranguru farming up. Rillaboom, oh no, gets the Drum Beating, but the opponent gets the game-winning catch onto Gyarados. Something I'm immediately noticing right off the bat is even with this new 35 energy charge move, Drum Beating, the pacing on Rillaboom is still dreadful because Razor Leaf's pacing is just absolutely awful. Well, we move to the next match. We've got a battle of ice types, Lapras against the Abomasnow. The bait or nuke game here is always tough. Lapras puts up the shield and gets the shield call right on the energy ball. Lapras, however, decides it's time to bait. Baiting with the Sparkling Aria, getting the shield from the Abomasnow, and now Lapras will make it to the Ice Beam. The Psywaves have already done some pretty considerable damage here. Ice Beam is going to land, and down goes Abomasnow. In comes Grumpig. Unfortunately, this is where you'd love to pivot out, but a Furret that's down energy is not going to have a good time against Grumpig. So Lapras is just going to stay in, land the Sparkling Aria, deal some pretty nice damage, and a very nice overfarm from the opponent as they will exit with a ton of energy. Grumpig will take the KO. You bring in Furret, or is it Rillaboom time? In comes Furret. Furret immediately under pressure from Dynamic Punch. This is going to do monster damage. Dynamic is going to land. Furret going to fire off the Swift. And now Grumpig is getting knocked out unless they burn the final shield. Swift will take the KO. Rillaboom versus Shadow Primeape in the back. If Shadow Primeape does have Ice Punch, this could get dire. Rillaboom with a tough call to make. Rillaboom calls the Rage Fist bait, and that should win the game. Had they went for the Ice Punch, they would have just won. They would have taken the knockout, but Rillaboom calls the bait, Razor Leafs down, and escapes with the win. We move to the next match, Lapras into Fearow. This is a pretty nice matchup for the Lapras. Obviously, anytime you have a Rillaboom in the back, if you see a grass resistance on the lead, you're going to be pretty happy. Try and play it out and neutralize this Fearow as quickly as possible. Fearow will land the Drill Peck. Lapras immediately returning fire with the Sparkling Aria. Sparkling Aria will inflict some pretty significant damage. The bait call from the Fearow. Now Lapras has to decide, is it worth going down a shield? Lapras says yes, shield comes up, opponent pivots into Regidrago, and so far this is looking like a really tough game to win. The opponent has 2 grass resistances on their team. Ice Beam gets shielded, in comes Furret, but Furret's about to get smacked by a Dragon Energy. Regidrago does not have a reason to bait wall up energy, so they end up full sending. While Swift will not knock out here, this is very helpful damage from the Furret, as this will get the Regidrago potentially into a range where Rillaboom can look to try and Razor Leaf down. Vice Grip will take the KO. It's going to have to be the Rillaboom show, but surely Rillaboom can't farm down before this Regidrago makes a move. In the back, it's a Fury Cutter Crustle. Beautiful catch. Smudgy playing out of his mind. But unfortunately, his final Pokemon is a Rillaboom. It's not a real Pokemon. So unfortunately, even with that beautiful catch, he's probably still going to end up taking the loss here. Oh my goodness, Rillaboom. It needs a new fast move so badly. Razor Leaf is just absolutely dreadful. X-Scissor will be shielded even with the debuff. The Fury Cutters just do too much damage. And unfortunately, that game will end in defeat. Great lead in the next match, Lapras into Gastrodon. The entire team beats Gastrodon. The safe switch into Furret is going to be answered with a Fearow, and thank goodness Fearow was baited out. Ideally, if Furret is able to win switch advantage here, then the Gastrodon is going to get absolutely destroyed by double super effective Razor Leaves from the Rillaboom. And Smudgy's going to be playing for alignment. Shield comes up. Furret gets the full Sucker Punch down. And that is massive. Back in comes Gastrodon, but Gastrodon's going to have to shield here. Trailblaze, double super effective. The shield comes up. Gastrodon will go for the body slam, but Furret will not get knocked out here. It's going to be close, but Furret should hang on. Furret gets to a second Trailblaze as well, and now they have to decide, are they willing to double shield? They say no. They get one shot. In the back is Toucannon. Toucannon does take some pretty significant damage from those double boosted Sucker Punches, as in comes Lapras. Lapras should be able to survive a Beak Blast here. Opponent ends up baiting with a Drill Peck, but even so, you can probably Razor Leaf this down at this point. Razor Leaf is going to be resisted, but it's a Toucannon. Toucannon is very, very frail. So Lapras, yeah, it's just going to let it go. It's time. Send in the Rillaboom. In comes Rillaboom. Razor Leafs are adding up. Toucannon is only going to make one charge attack here. They would need to make the back-to-back Drill Packs, and they just can't get there. So they go for the Beak Blast, try and farm down, but it's Rillaboom getting the farm down and taking the win. Hopping into the next match, picking up a pretty okay lead, Lapras into Furret. Now Furret, even though it can hit for super effective damage with Trailblaze or Brick Break, Lapras can still definitely hold its own here. Lapras fires out the Sparkling Aria. That's very nice damage, and we see a beautiful catch onto his own Furret. This way he's able to preserve that Lapras for later, ended up catching a Brick Break, so Lapras definitely would not have been a fan of that damage. Furret gonna be no shielding. They go for the Swift. Swift does not take the knockout, but in comes Girafarig. This could be a problem because Girafarig has a Psychic resistance, which means the Lapras is going to struggle to farm it down. Are you forced to bring in the Rillaboom here, or is it back into the Lapras? Rillaboom gets brought in. Rillaboom, unfortunately, does get one turn bring in. Psychic Fangs, not going to hit for a ton of damage. I stand corrected. Rillaboom is apparently very, very frail. Unfortunately, that's basically an entire Rillaboom gone, just from a few fast moves and one Psychic Fangs. In comes Furret. Furret gonna be hit with the Drum Beating. Drum Beating is gonna be shielded. In comes Lapras, looking for a Psywave down that unfortunately it cannot get. Shield comes up from Lapras. You really have to hope it's not gonna be another Psychic type in the back, and it's a Rangaroo. And unfortunately, this game is over. Lapras so strong in so many neutral matchups, but when Psywave is resisted, Lapras just doesn't have the power that it typically would. Lapras putting up a shield, fighting to the very end, but unfortunately, Oranguru is already at the back-to-back Brutal Swings. Brutal Swing will not knock out Lapras here. Oh, I stand corrected. I'm currently recording this at 1 a.m. I thought it was going to survive. Lapras did not. Oh, I think Lapras got Brick Breaked, and that's why it did not survive. Either way, we move to the next match, Lapras into Galarian Zapdos. Galarian Zapdos is a Pokemon that I actually encountered in the Retro Cup yesterday. Unfortunately, the counter nerf some seasons back makes it a lot more difficult to run, but if you're looking to try and hard punish Furret, then I kind of get the appeal. Zapdos will go for the fly. These Psy-Waves are just deleting this Zapdos, and before they're able to make another fly, Lapras will look to secure the knockout with a Sparkling Aria. Sparkling Aria will take the KO. Furret just gets the farm down as Lapras falls just short of the Aria. In comes Rillaboom. Rillaboom gonna be used as a bit of a damage sponge here as Furret goes for the Brick Break. Brick Break now gonna be sending in a Kecleon, and that is not what I was expected to see. Normally when I see a normal type and I've already seen a Furret, I assume Licky Licky, but it's Kecleon. Kecleon gets smacked by some vines. Now Kecleon is debuffed. Furret gonna be no shielding. What does Kecleon even learn? It learns Aerial Ace. Oh my goodness. Aerial Ace already a terrible move. Even worse by the fact that it does not get same type attack bonus and it's debuffed by Drum Beating. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match. Lapras once again staring down Furret, and even if they are on Brick Break, Lapras still does pretty okay here. Lapras CMP ties Sparkling Aria to the Brick Break. Sparkling Aria is going to do some pretty sizable damage, but so will that Brick Break. Brick Break lands, applying that guaranteed defense drop. Suddenly, Lapras is going to look a lot less bulky. However, when they try and get to Brick Break number 2, Lapras is able to outpace by a singular turn. That 12-11 pacing, Sparkling Aria forcing a shield, and Furret is going to be forced to throw energy. Now, you bring in Furret, you send in the Rillaboom to absorb energy. Honestly, considering that Rillaboom hasn't done a lot here, relying on Rillaboom to try and close out an endgame might be too tall of a task. Brick Break lands onto the Furret. Furret will get the full farm down, but now it's all up to Rillaboom to try and sweep. Opponent reveals Araquanid in the back, and no, these bug bites are just absolutely shredding through the Rillaboom. This is only going to be a bubble beam, but a Rillaboom is just getting torn to smithereens. In comes Oranguru, and I just really don't see a path to winning this game. The Oranguru absorbs that debuff Drum Beating. They're going to look for a full farm down. The pacing on Rillaboom is just so unfortunate. There's 2 shields for Furret to hide behind, but there's still a full health Araquanid more or less. The Araquanid took some Razor Leafs, but the Araquanid is probably still at like 75% HP. So Furret's going to try its best, but there's just no way around the Water Spider. Back in comes Araquanid. Furret can go for the Trailblaze, looking to ramp up its damage, now getting to a Swift, but it's just too little too late. The writing's on the wall in this one. Furret does not get that farm down. Araquanid is able to make the last second Bubble Beam, knocking out Furret and securing the win. Hopping to the final match, leading Lapras into Regidrago, a pretty decent lead for Smudgy. Lapras will be at a pacing disadvantage, but Dragon Energy does not one-shot, whereas Ice Beam will hit for devastating damage. Lapras puts up the shield, gets it right as they full send the Dragon Energy. They try for a catch onto Dusclops, and they're about to regret that decision as in comes Furret. Furret just absolutely destroys Dusclops. This is why Dusclops is not used a lot in this meta, but especially is not used as a safe switch. Because if your Dusclops ends up on Furret, you're probably just losing the game. The worst part is for the opponent, they're not getting another Ice Punch. Ice Punch doesn't even do a lot of damage, but they're just getting farmed down. They make a move, but this is only a Shadow Punch. This is double resisted. They'll take whatever damage they can get, but the Furret exits absolutely loaded and boosted on energy as well. Back in comes Regidrago. Regidrago kind of has to no-shield here because an Ice Beam would do more, but Regidrago is getting torn to smithereens by this Furret. Furret is just running away with this game. Swift will be shielded. There's the combo play and the snipe. In comes Lapras. Lapras only has to go for the Aria. Shield comes up from the Drago. Drago undertaps the Dragon Energy, and Lapras responds with an immediate no-shield. Lapras gonna look for the farm down. In the back is Furret, and this game is over. Rillaboom is getting a win. Well, Rillaboom didn't really do anything in this game, but Rillaboom is going to be part of a team that got a win. As Lapras makes Ice Beam into the Sparkling Aria, Furret now deep into the red, in comes Rillaboom, and now the opponent has to know that they lost to a Rillaboom. All in all, Rillaboom definitely appreciates the fact that it got Drum Beating and Frenzy Plant, but until it gets a remotely viable fast move, unfortunately this is just not a playable Pokemon. Its current options are Razor Leaf and Scratch. Razor Leaf is absolutely atrocious. If Rillaboom wants to have any kind of meaningful success, then Rillaboom would need more of an energy-focused fast move, but the odds are definitely stacked against it. Drum Beating is a very good charge move. I could see in the future if it got some kind of energy-focused fast move, that it could potentially run Drum Beating and Earth Power as its coverage move, because it does learn Earth Power, but currently, you're never really going to get to an Earth Power if you're running Razor Leaf, and Scratch is not any better, because Scratch is somehow even worse of a move than Razor Leaf. So for the current time, this is mainly just a calm day to play, get the shinies, and I believe it's triple catch Stardust. So purely off of the new shiny and the catch Stardust, it's going to be a fun calm day to play. But as far as competitive viability goes, I wasn't expecting a lot from Rillaboom. I know it's a mono grass type, it doesn't have amazing stats, but Drum Beating's a really good charge move. So I was saying surely it can't be that bad. It turns out it is that bad. Rillaboom, unfortunately, in its current state, is pretty atrocious. It would need, at bare minimum, a really good fast move and probably a new coverage move as well to have a chance. Drum Beating, at the very least, does give it like one really good charge move, but unfortunately, you kind of need more than one charge move if you're going to be a viable Pokemon. So again, more of a calm day. You can play to have fun, potentially get some high IV Rillabooms in case it does get big move updates in the future, but for now, this is not a Pokemon you need for PvP. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.